not nearly as sensitive, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, but that had to be a crazy experience. I talked to Scott Nimrod too, and I guess it was kind of resembling martial law a little bit, that there were police out making sure that nobody was out and about and all kinds of stuff like that. And uh, sounds sounds like a nasty way of life, right? Having to go through all that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, in California, we don't definitely don't have any weather like that. We just get earthquakes periodically, but
Yeah. Have you been through some of those?
a few, but none of them really extreme.
Yeah. Yeah. You're back, Daryl.
Nothing that's caused
Yeah,
any.
that's just my laptop, not the aftermath of the storm.
Yeah. No follow-up. So,
But yeah, it was crazy. I mean, there's power went out early. I think FPL, Florida Power and Light, decided to turn off power like early, so kind of messed up. And
they
yeah, so
chose
there was
to
no water
deliberately.
in that house. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. They chose to deliberately turn it off just to
I
avoid.
I think so. I think so
Huh.
because the storm wasn't even, I mean, it wasn't even there yet. It was a little bit windy, and then
Hmm.
suddenly the power's going on. I mean, I think they preemptively do that. Um,
I guess that
so,
could cut down some damage. If down power lines are live, then it could probably cause a lot of other problems, I suppose. I
yeah,
mean, I don't really know, but stands to reason that you could have some serious hazard with that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, my neighbors had solar panels, so they were fine. Everyone, I just got power back last week, last Tuesday.
Wow.
So
How long
yeah,
was it out for then?
a week and a half.
Oh man,
Oh wow,
that is
that's a
brutal.
long time.
Yeah. No, and it's really bad. I mean, like there was some food left over in the fridge. Like we were basically moving from house to house. We stayed at my dad's thinking, oh, he's got a generator and all this stuff, but we couldn't get the generator working.
Mm.
And I had water at my house because it's city water, and his was well water with an electric pump. So the electricity was out. There was no water over there. It was couldn't flush the toilets. Meanwhile, my stepbrother, who we had to stay with for that storm for a couple of days at my dad's house, he was using our drinking water, gallons of drinking water, to try to flush the toilet,
Mm.
and he couldn't even do it successfully. So that was like something we were pissed off about. He's like, he didn't come with any rations, no canned foods, nothing. He's like all fresh fruit and fresh meat and frozen like milk and just all perishable. So I'm
Oh
like,
damn.
what are you doing? Do you not know how to prepare for storm?
Wow.
So that was, yeah, that was pretty bad. And then
Man.
we went up to my mom, stayed there for a week, but I got sick the night of the storm, so I had 103 or 104-degree fever all week. Meanwhile, I'm like clearing debris to get to my house. The trees were all down, so we finally found a route. And well, on my street, a big concrete electrical pole had fallen and crossed the whole entire street, plus a
Damn.
tree with it. So it was just like completely blocked. And then the other side was all down trees. So luckily, as I tried to get in, a neighbor on that corner just took a chainsaw. He had his chainsaw and he just started mowing down the street, and I would clear all the trees away. And this is like I still had a fever. I was surviving off of Tylenol.
Oh man.
And
Brutal.
yeah, so it was insane. There's a lot of down trees. My fence is pretty jacked up, but luckily it wasn't that big of a storm. So
Yeah.
it's the trees all fall down, they get uprooted, and that causes a lot of electrical outages because they're right up on the power lines. And if FPL did their job a little more and cleared the power lines routinely, maybe it wouldn't have been such a big outage.
Yeah. Well, the generator thing makes me think of our database backups, right? You don't actually have a backup till you've tested restoring it, and that's
Right. Exactly.
yeah.
And the
Crazy.
crazy thing about this storm was that it was predicted to go straight up Florida. So literally everyone's trying to escape Miami, but the storm was going to chase them. So all of Florida was freaking out. Gas stations were just lines, you know, you couldn't even get gas. All the stores were just depleted of canned goods and water and whatever. And like, it was just madness. Normally when a storm goes from like east to west or west to east, you know, people could flee to the rest of Florida and the rest of Florida is not freaking out. But this was literally people that would take, it's normally a 7 hour drive or 4 hour drive to Orlando from Miami to Orlando. And it was taking people like 8 to 11 hours.
Damn.
So, and
Wow.
then you get stranded. But anyway, it was pretty insane. You really find how society breaks down when there's no resources available.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's crazy.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was pretty simple though.
Yeah. Have any of you guys ever read gosh, what was that thing called? The Fifth Wave is the name of the book. It was a movie pretty recently too.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but
Yeah.
I
It's
have
basically
not.
the alien attack comes in, and they basically their form of attack is that they make society just kind of eat itself because of the panic and you know all of the I mean they do their share of things to the humans, but you know the humans are ultimately you know it becomes very ugly amongst themselves.
hmm.
So yeah, it was kind of neat, but yeah, holy shit, man. So does it make you question whether this is really a place you want to live?
Not not really. I mean, it's everyone, everything's it's embedded into your
Yeah,
lifestyle. You know, it's
yeah.
just.
Well, and
But
Andrew was 20 years ago, right? I mean, that's pretty few and
it
far
was
between.
92.
92. Okay.
So yeah, over. Yeah.
Yeah, 25.
So so yeah. I mean, but like you know, if Andrew kind of hit us again, I mean, it's it destroys. I mean, people 500, few hundred people were killed in the Caribbean, I think, and in the Keys, Key West got hit really hard. And my mom's friends stayed there, even though they were told to evacuate, and they were like fending for their lives. So, but yeah, I think you know wherever you go, there's going to be some kind of like Denver has fires and blizzards, right? And
Not
um,
really. I mean, there's not that much. Hail is the biggest
Colorado,
thing.
hell, yeah.
That's probably the biggest problem we have here. But really, there's not much. My parents live just outside of Omaha, and you know, I mean, they were without power for several days because of tornadoes this past
Mm.
summer. Yeah, it was this past summer. So I mean, it got really ugly there. But yeah, I mean, there's not much that goes wrong here. I mean, we do get a significant snow, maybe you know, maybe once every few years, where it really dumps a lot, and you know, and it's a big deal, you know, where it's feet of snow, but it doesn't happen that often. And even then, right? I mean, you're not in much danger if you just have some non-perishables, right? We never lost power or anything, which I
Right.
you know you could, but it's you know I think relative to you know Noah was talking about you know earthquakes in California too, but you know I mean how how big a deal have those ever been, right? You know, I mean the one with the in the World Series, right? There was some pretty significant destruction around that one. I guess the bridge going down, right, caused a lot of damage and death and some of that stuff. But I don't know. Those are also not.
Yeah.
I don't know that they really ever do too much damage.
Yeah. But
Um,
I enjoy living through that experience because it's such a unique experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's really like how often do you get to see, well, one, live without electricity, two, you know, just see society just kind of pushed to its limits, you know, when
yeah,
and I don't know, it's like out of a movie. It's cool. I like it.
yeah. See the animal nature of human beings.
Yeah. I mean, you realize how much you really depend on others. You know, you depend on those trucks, you know, delivering, and you depend on those, you know, the gas station attendants, like making sure their gas stations are filled up. And I mean, it's
Yeah,
everyone hates each other, but at the same time, they're really interconnected.
Yeah, absolutely. Depend on your depends.
But the crazy thing that happened was that, so because our company got acquired, right? And I mentioned this already, I think, to you, but our company got acquired and we never finished our disaster recovery.
Mm.
You know, we're testing, we always test every year around the same time, and it's like a big ordeal. Our architecture is kind of monolithic, so it's like all or nothing, everything goes to the other data center or not. So Miami data center has an SLA of 8 days without power. Like if power to be lost, they have at least 8 days of backup generating power, something like that. But for whatever reason, the executives, you know, were sitting comfortably somewhere else and this making decisions about things, and the two key players, myself and this my friend Max, you know, who were needed to get our systems up and running and disaster recovery all, you know, tested. And, you know, if we didn't have power, which I didn't, and luckily Max did, so he was able to be working and getting an entire new data center up and running, all the kinks out of worked out, and we missed business deadlines, we missed all sorts of things because we decided to move over to another data center in the midst of the storm. So like not only that, they were putting pressure and on our employees to be working in the middle of the storm and like kind of right after the storm, and you know, we needed to tend to our family and our homes, and it was kind of a crazy time for that. So more of the story is, you know, disaster recovery testing should be happening frequently, or be should have priority, especially when you're in an area that's prone to disasters.
It always seems like that's something you can do later, and then until
Yeah,
it's too late. Yeah.
the same with the home. It's like I could have prepared my home, gosh, months ago when the season started, but you know, it's not a priority.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that thing about important versus urgent.
Yeah, it's everything becomes urgent when it's last minute, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But
So,
it's funny,
oh, sorry.
but because like to get a team together to figure out disaster recovery and get the right people in the room, and you know, because it's very siloed, you know, departments. Like you want to do a network change or something like that, it's like you got to get someone from the network team who's not on your team and coordinate all this stuff. And so like in the midst of a disaster, we were able to do it in 4 or 5 days, you know, just nonstop. But to get it working on a normal basis without a disaster is like pulling teeth and getting everyone together. No one's really focused on it. Everyone's
Yeah.
focused on their own priorities. So I find it really ironic that like you can make the choice to have something, to start something and complete it, you know, and do like a tiger team that's just honing in, tackling something. But it's like it takes a disaster to do that. It's weird. Why can't we just decide that, you know, normally get a tiger team together and knock
Yeah.
something?
Make it to where important is enough, and you don't have to have urgent on you to do it. But I mean, yeah, there's always, I mean, competing priorities and so many other things that seem so urgent in you know, in the moment. I don't know. I don't know that there's an answer to where you really will ever prioritize those things that are not, you know, just breaking down your door.
Yeah, it's tough. It's about risk. You know, you gotta. It's hard to prioritize and value risk. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember where I heard this, but somebody was talking about that if you're standing on this platform, you know, and it's 2 feet off the ground, right? Then, you know, you have a lot of confidence that, you know, falling off this platform is such a low consequence kind of a thing, right? The same platform, right? Same size, 200 feet off the ground. It's a whole different question. You feel very different about it, right? The risk, the probability of an event is exactly the same, but the consequences of such an event are so remarkably different that it changes everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jose, my man, the triumphant badass public speaker that you are. How are you, sir?
Hey, morning, guys. Afternoon, rather. How are you today?
Doing good, man.
Yeah, sorry for the. I'm not in the toilet, so just to let you know. I just need to still get me. I need to get me a microphone, so I'm sorry about the background noise.
You're cool, man. You're cool.
Yeah, just making sure you guys don't think I'm the can, talking to you.
Well, I think you're in a different
But
room every time we do one of these calls.
no, actually, been in the last calls, I've been in the same room.
Ah, okay.
So yeah,
Room keeps
I'm
changing
not
around.
in.
I'm still thinking of the
No.
old house with your "Make America Great Again" hat in the background.
Whoa,
I mean, the red hat on the
David,
wall in the background.
that was
I'm just joking, man.
that was the Linux
Yeah,
hat that
yeah.
you're probably hating
It was
on.
actually a red hat, red
You
hat.
know, the red hat that you're probably hating on. That's okay. Haters gonna
Yeah.
hate.
That's what I thought every time I saw that thing hanging on the wall in the background. It's just, the associations in your mind,
Oh, Dave, don't put words in my mouth, please. Come on, that's how rumors get spread. And actually,
Yeah.
that was not even the red hat. Red hat, that was the NC State
Oh,
hat
okay. Okay.
that my
Wolfpack.
wife purchased. That was one of her purchases when we got here to North Carolina. The first thing she went to Target, she got her NC State
Oh, okay.
hat. So it was not that other red hat, Mr. Dave.
So
Uh,
why'd you pick NC State? Did she have some attachment to that?
that's her, man. I don't ask. That's her thing. That's her deal.
Plenty
You
of schools to
know?
pick from in North Carolina there.
Listen, man, that's her. Okay, I don't.
Yeah,
That's not a question that I can answer for someone else.
understood. Yeah.
But yeah, that's that kind of red hat. Don't think otherwise, people. Don't. Please, let's not start rumors because I'm personally gonna get a lot of heat, especially due to my skin color and my background. Man, I'm never gonna hear the end of that.
So yeah. So did you get some feedback from the talk you gave and things happy?
It went pretty well. I mean, a lot of people liked the style because it was a lot of live coding and a lot of let's create something from nothing, and people enjoy that rather than getting bored with slides and just like a brain dump of all the knowledge that I've gathered. So they like the style. And to be honest with you, it was pretty positive. The, 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 the whole thing was supposed to be up to 8 p.m., but we were not done with the whole exercise. And I asked the organizer if we could stay a little longer, and he gave the green light. So a lot of people stayed, like after 8 o'clock, and usually at 8 o'clock or right before the end of the scheduled time, people start to leave. But I'll say a good 90% of the people stayed another 15 minutes later, which is a lot, especially on a weeknight.
Yeah.
With family and everything else going on, and yeah, a lot of people stay actually until after the time alluded. And
What was the talk on about?
React.
Oh, React. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, my take was this: that if you were a .NET developer and you'll be doing what's called now backend development, and if you're trying to break into front end, that you should consider React or looking into React, and this is why. Because I have gone through the pain, so I can show you that it's not that hard, like it seems to be. That if you know functions, if you know events, if you know a function takes in one parameter and returns something else, you're good. Everything else is just jargon that other people like to just pepper. So that was my angle, and I think a lot of people took something that night, even if it was like, oh, now I can look into React. It's not that scary like people make it seem to be.
I like React a lot. I think there's a lot to it's code, right? I mean, you get to write JavaScript and it helps you, right? I mean, it doesn't force it, but it helps you along the lines of focus on the feature that you're trying to implement instead of all of these different technical things, right? It's separating things along functionality lines rather than separating them along technical lines. And I think that is very appealing. The one thing I worry about with React is the license. Do you think that I know some people say that you're right to be concerned, and some people say that's nonsense. It's not a problem at all. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I did until like 2 days ago, actually, Friday night. And I know a lot of people don't check their Twitter or those kind of accounts on Friday nights because they want to say, you know, but React 16, next version, basically of React, is going to be released under MIT.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
That is good.
That was, and I don't know why they decided to release that kind of news on a Friday like evening, like a 7 o'clock or something. But everybody signs off for the weekend, basically, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And they released that news, like everybody was like, like party time because now.
That's good. Yeah.
Because and not just React, but other things are going to be MIT license now.
Cool.
So
yeah, that thing about. Yeah, that thing about that you can't use it and compete with Facebook, and Facebook has more money than God, and they're buying up businesses all over the place. You could very easily, all of a sudden, wind yourself in competition with something that Facebook owns, and I worried about that. So that's really good news.
Yeah, and as my vanguard before the talks, one of the first lives that I had up there, I was like, I'm not gonna talk about the Facebook patent because I knew I was gonna get slammed with those kind of questions. From there's always that person in the crowd that's
like I just am.
Yeah, just like, okay, if there's any of you over here, I'm not gonna talk about this at all. So let's put this, let's seal this down right now, and let's move on to have some fun. Because what I don't like sometimes is that the certain talks, gatherings, user groups, and whatnot, turn into one with a speaker and that same person in the crowd or that group of people in the crowd, and then everybody else in there, we pay for that, right? Because like, okay, dude, can you just Google that, or can you talk to him after the event? And honestly, I find that very selfish and very disrespectful to the rest of your fellow developers, right? That also spend their time,
I don't know. It's a fine line because there are times that
yeah.
you're the guy that asks the question that's on everybody's mind, and nobody else had the guts to be the dummy who asks the stupid question, right? So I think yes, you have a point there, but I think there's also a counterpoint too.
Yeah, no, I mean, like everything, but let's be considerate. But I'm saying from my angle, right? Let's be considerate of others. But there's some people, man, that are just like pegging on the same thing, on the same topic. Like, this is not even the topic about tonight. We're talking about something else. So I didn't want the whole conversation on Wednesday to turn into the Facebook patent stuff.
Yeah.
And actually,
no, it's
yeah. Get to the bottom of what we came here for, and not to see me copy paste wrong code, making sure things broke, and you can make fun of me, that kind of thing. Like, hey, let's code this thing live and let's go for it. Let's have some fun, And if you can laugh at me or laugh together, let's do this together, as opposed to getting caught on one thing that is not even relevant to the conversation.
Yeah. I like the just making sure that the the broader community isn't derailed because of the concerns of one person. That certainly makes a lot of sense. So live coding, man, that's I hear a lot of speakers going away from that, right? Because so many things can go wrong. I love it. I like, give me my IDE and let's just go to work and make something happen. And if if something goes wrong or something's not working, well, there's something to learn from that too. So, to hell with it. I don't know, what do you guys think? Do you think live coding is actually, Noah, do you ever give any talks?
No, I've never done it. It make me so uncomfortable. I mean, I've done like things more kind of informal in very small settings with like one or two people, where I'm presenting a little bit, but
Yeah.
nothing even slightly formal or to a significant audience. So.
Yeah. Well, those small things in the company are not that different. I mean, it's just at a smaller scale, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, I recently did a lunch and learn with my team about Apache Kafka, and I wanted to make it more interactive live coding because of the complaints I've gotten. Like normally I've just like, oh, let's watch this video together, and everyone gets super bored. So to make it more interactive, I was like, all right, let's do coding. But then the complaint became, oh, you weren't prepared enough because like I wanted to do it as if I was just learning for the first time, and you guys are all here with me. That's it. And like, so if something goes wrong, like you said, Dave, like I mean, it's really hard to get Apache Kafka with Docker working for some reason. I couldn't do it. So I had to switch to my, just getting the jar file there from Apache Kafka from the tutorial on their site versus some other site. And like, anyway, that was the complaint, was like, oh, it should just be a very smooth process. So what I was thinking to do next time is more of a mob programming style of learning, which obviously wouldn't work for like a giant speaker setting, but in a lunch and learn, it's like, all right, I was doing all the coding and running this through the tutorial, but I lost a lot of people because they were just like, they couldn't probably see the screen and all the thing. I don't know. But if you pass the keyboard around, and then now it's your turn to start, doing step number 2 of the tutorial, and they might be a little more glued in, interactive. So
I've been wanting to dig into Llewellyn Falco's strong style pairing, right? Where it's like the person who's driving what is to be done is not the person with the keyboard, right? That you don't key anything that came from your own mind. And I think that was the idea. I don't know. I want to dig more into that, but I think there's there's probably something to that for sure.
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk about it, hype about its effectiveness. But then, I've seen some time-lapse videos of mob programming, and I see a lot of people in the background is like, they're getting bored as well. So
yeah, I would imagine. I mean, it stands to reason that it would be easy to disengage when you've got a large group.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But yeah, I was at a conference this week here in Denver at the Explore DDD Domain Driven Design Conference, and it was kick ass. It was cool, and there were some hands-on sessions at the end, and I just really like that. That we're all doing the same thing, and we can kind of look at each other's screens and what am I doing here? What are you seeing that's different from what I'm seeing, and that kind of stuff. And I think there's a hell of a lot of goodness in that we've all got our laptops and we're trying to bang something out. So those are cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's almost like guiding it through examples.
Yeah.
Examples are the true means to the end. Like you need to be concrete at some point. To have slides and theories, all good, but that's like domain driven design. I'm always reading about it, and then I'm like, how do you code it? Like how is this going to work with Spring Framework and dependency protection? And like, then there's debates about that online and how you can get that to work. So I like the live coding.
Well, yeah. These big ideas about how to do software development get so bastardized, right? I mean, everybody applies them in different ways, and it's so hard to know what anybody means when they use any terms. And I think that's the thing that drives so much. I hate this thing. Well, I don't think you even know what it really means, right? And so to say well, how am I going to apply domain driven design? Yeah, right. What does it mean is not an easy question to answer. It's not something you can just say a sentence and here's what the thing is. And it's, I don't know, in a lot of ways it's kind of hopeless when we throw these terms around. So I don't know.
Yeah, I never got through the book, actually. I'm slowly reading it.
Well, I think there's a lot of that too. And, Eric Evans himself, right? By the way, I got to shake Eric's hand and got to talk to him, and that was pretty sweet, being at that conference, which was local here in my area. But he gave this talk like 5 years after the book, called "What I've Learned Since the Book." And one of the first things he said was, "Man, I put stuff in the wrong order in the book because people read these chapters about all of these implementation patterns, all of these details, and then they kind of thought, okay, yeah, I've got it. And then they didn't read the stuff that's the real meat of the book, that is the later chapters." And he said he really regrets the order in which the book was laid out, and that there is a lot of that, very, very common, that and it was kind of the same thing too, that when I went on .NET Rocks my one time, right, I had pitched to them, I wanted to talk about domain-driven design, and Richard was kind of like, "Well, I think we've already beat the hell out of that topic, where there's not much more." And I basically was like, "Well, yeah, but I don't like the way that you guys covered it, I mean, not them, I really don't like the message that was given there about all of these implementation patterns, when there's this whole other thing, the tactical pattern, the strategic patterns, as opposed to the tactical patterns." And so I think
communication around what happens and how to formalize the domain and stuff like that.
Modeling your domain and using a ubiquitous language, using the same terms that the business uses, and trying to understand the thing, and most of all, breaking it into smaller parts that are autonomous, right? Which is why microservices has become the new name for service-oriented architecture, because service-oriented architecture has lost its meaning, because anybody who uses any HTTP endpoint calls their thing a service, and so all of a sudden they are service-oriented if you have HTTP somewhere in your infrastructure. So, SOA doesn't mean anything more. So now it's got to be microservices that means that. And well, now microservices has come to mean that you've got HTTP endpoints that, really are only doing one operation. So now now that's lost its meaning as well.
It's all to hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, back to React, I have a question about it, because I haven't fully checked it out. I'm a more Angular developer, but the ecosystem, I'm very confused, because you don't just use React by itself, right? Like, you have to use React plus Redux, and then there's like 50 other frameworks you have to use with React. Is that right, or am I just confused?
Well, you don't have to.
Not exactly, Daryl.
Yeah.
The thing about React. No, the thing is this, right? The thing is this, and a lot of people make this mistake, that it depends. That's the answer. It really does. What that means is that
how complex the app.
Depends on the need, depends on what you're gonna do, right? And what I've seen, a lot of mistakes, a lot of people make the mistake of using React and Redux right away. You don't need to use Redux. You really don't.
You could use Redux with anything, right? It's just a framework.
Yeah, you can use Redux with Angular. I know people do that.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm trying to say is the power of React is that it's a library, and you can pick and choose what to use with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Angular where you get everything,
right,
out of the box, which some people are used to, especially .NET developers. We are used to just, open up Visual Studio, ASP.NET MVC app, and up you go, right? But we don't know what happens behind the scenes. So React is approach of, no, here's this one little thing that really, really well. So you will need other things, but once again, it depends what you need for your app, for your problem to solve and whatnot. Some people may like that, some people may not. And that's really up to you, what you prefer. And what I found out over this week, the reason why I personally like React on its own is because it allows me to do declarative programming. And before, in the city, when I used to work in the city, I worked in Silverlight, and we did a lot of declarative programming. So it was easy for me, right? So when I see all this templating stuff, ng this, ng that, it just, just rubs me the wrong way. This is a personal thing, okay? So I like clean, cleaner tags, not things that are not too noisy. And it really matters. What I found out is that it depends how much boilerplate you're willing to take, how much magic and how much boilerplate you want to take. Because some people are okay with some magic and some people are not okay with any magic. But then there are the same people who complain about the boilerplate you have to write. I honestly don't want to write a lot of boilerplate. And that's what I feel Angular does. Like I have to get all the ceremony set up just to get something going, like hello world. Like why? I don't want to do that. I'm learning it. So let me get the simplest way to get up and going, and React gets me there. However, what I found out is playing with Vue this week was that it's even easier now with Vue.js. It's even stupid easy. I'm like, oh God, this is insane easy. It's easier compared to what it's been before. And I like it because that means better things are coming down the pipeline.
Cool. I've heard good things about Vue. I haven't touched it either, but yeah, that's cool.
I haven't really touched it. I have just looked at some talks, and I'm like, don't tell me this is easy, because if it is easy, things are going to get even better. But the problem is, right, that we're used to this complex tooling and controls and libraries and frameworks, that anything easier than that, we get all freaked out.
Yeah,
that's what I found out. I don't know how you feel about that kind of approach, guys. You want to do everything, or do you want some magic?
Right.
Well, I think it depends,
I like the magic. I don't know. Time is limited, and although you kind of have to learn the magic over time, I guess. But to get started, I want to be able to just do everything. So like with Vue, it's like very low level, right? You have to kind of like build out your own frameworks, and you end up building out frameworks in a sense that aren't good because you're not very good developer. Like it just doesn't. You're not like a framework developer, So you build all this context around that framework, and that's why I like Angular. Well, Angular to me is very too complicated as well. Like you have to learn all the way the service providers and the service and versus the what is it? What's the other one? not a service, but well, there's modules, services, and anyway,
I don't know.
I don't use the other one. Factory.
And my question to that is why?
Yeah. No, now you don't. Angular 4 and 2, like you don't do that anymore.
Right, but my question is why? And the thing is, I would have a problem if I could take the same knowledge and apply it somewhere else, right? But it's very Angular-ish. It's very just how Angular works, right? And there's a thing that takes me wrong about any technology. If I have to learn just because that's the way it works, the language, the framework, whatever, right? Because I cannot translate that knowledge out of there. And the thing that I like about React for now, at least, is that I create JavaScript, that I write raw JavaScript.
Yeah.
That I create functions, pure functions. Well, not technically, but it's the idea of a simple function, very small, something comes in and something always comes out. Always, that's the rule. So that gets me thinking of creating functions, right, in functional programming that says, hey, one thing in and one thing out, always. So it gets my mind thinking always like that, so I can take the same idea and apply it regardless of framework, technology, or language that I have. Because, well, my real deal, guys, if you guys don't know, is Elm. Elm is purely functional. And that's really what gets me light up. React is just like, the predecessor, but Elm takes it to the next freaking level because that's purely functional.
You were going hard on Elm for a while. It seems like that.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I will not get into that. But yeah, I mean, that's the reason why, because thanks to React, I was able to to look into Elm, and Elm was purely functional, right? And it made me cry for a little while, I admit. But then after I looked at it for what it is, then I took that same knowledge, right, the functional approach, the paradigm, and apply it back to React. I'm like, oh, this is what React is trying to do. When somebody told me a pure function, oh, I know what you mean by a pure function. Doesn't matter if it's in F# and Python or any other language. When you say, hey, Jose, this is a pure function. Okay, I know what a pure function is. Let's talk. That way I don't get lost in like, what are you telling me, Dave? Pure function is what? So that's why I like it, because it just helps me understand a little better. Because what really like lights me up though, it's functional programming, and React gets me there.
Yeah. Don't you return? Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Daryl.
But I was gonna ask, don't you return HTML as well as part of those functions?
You don't. React does.
Yeah, React. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like, which I just always wondered, if you're combining JavaScript and then function HTML, like how do you refactor things? How do you visualize? Because I'm used to working with templates, right, or an HTML file or whatever. That's kind of like you're going to inject things into that versus generating HTML, and it's kind of like you lose the big picture in my mind of what the output looks like, right? It's kind of like all these little pieces put together. Versus, so how do you refactor? How do you even know where things are and laid out?
Well, see there. Here's the take, right? I have not worked with templating heavily since like for a while. I never liked Razor when it came out. I never liked any templating language, even in web forms. I never liked templating. I worked in PHP and templating, and it sucked. I hated it. So any templating, it kind of turns me off. Like, I don't know why, just it's not for me, because I come from more of a raw HTML kind of guy, right? So here's the deal with React. Okay, and I agree with you. It's a little bit like, oh my God, what was happening here? Too much magic. This is where things get a little bit fuzzy for people who have your experience. You are not creating HTML ever in JavaScript. Ever.
Well, I mean, okay, yeah.
what those functions, what's actually components return, right? The React components return, which are nothing but JavaScript functions underneath the cover. They are nothing but something called, have you heard of JSX?
JSS? No.
JSX.
Yeah.
JSX.
Yeah.
JSX.
Yeah, I mean, really, the JSX is essentially a coded template, right? It's not really all that much different from having a template, other than it becomes real JavaScript.
Right.
But you can read it like you read HTML.
Right, but it's not even a template, Dave. I wouldn't even go that far. JSX is really synthetic sugar for the React API.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's all it is. I thought it was something magic. No, that's all it is, because calling the React API like raw JavaScript is a big pain in the ass. That's how
it can be.
React.
It depends on your use case. It depends on what you're doing with it, right? Sometimes having a loop to add elements to the thing is exactly the thing you need, right? But JSX, it's syntactic sugar that makes those JavaScript calls look like an HTML template. Yeah, agreed. It's not an HTML template, but you can read it like HTML. Yes. And so when you look at that thing, it's a lot like seeing the template that you're using in some other platform.
Right. So Daryl, think of your JavaScript functions, or actually your components, returning the templates themselves.
Right. Yeah, you're basically defining, instead of writing React JavaScript code, you're writing XML, and then that kind of gets compiled into.
You're writing HTML, really. That's how I like to look at it. You're just writing div tags. I know technically, yeah, but what I'm saying, to my eyes, it just looks like I'm writing raw HTML. Div tags, p tags, TRs, TDs, blah, blah, blah. And that's what I care about, right? And that's what I like about React, like I said, because it's declarative, it focuses on the what, because I don't care how it works unless I want to mess around with it. I just care, hey, get it done. How you get it done, I don't care. That's your job, not mine, right? Unless I want to create my own framework or want to mess around with React, then yeah, maybe I want to look under the hood. But sometimes I just want to turn that key on my car and drive somewhere, right? So that's
well,
yeah,
I think to me, it gives me the right separation, right? When I think about when I want to see my template that is going to create the thing that's going to visualize my model that I'm dealing with, and I see in the same file I've got that model and the template. I'm looking at all of that in one place where I need to work with that stuff. That is just a better way to me of being able to keep that feature together instead of having them separated out into here's an HTML file, here's a JavaScript file, here's a CSS file, and to have the context for what that thing's doing, I need to look at all of these different files. So it's kind of the idea of taking layers or taking slices rather than layers, I guess, is kind of the thing that you'll hear a lot of domain-driven design folks talk about, right? That you want to look at a slice of functionality rather than a layer of tech. And I don't know, it fits nicely with the way that I like to think.
Oh, really? That's what I mean, Daves?
Say that again?
Oh, crap. Look at me. I'm learning domain-driven design. Yay. And no, seriously, but that's a cool part, right? Like nothing new under the sun, really, right? So I'm sure the React people didn't come up with this out of like, oh, hey, we got this cool idea, right? I'm sure they have some influence from somewhere outside, right? And put this together and put it thinking. That's why, like I said, at least React allows me to, hey, I know this concept, and then when somebody like Dave talks about this other concept, I'm like, wait a minute, I know that. I just know it by a different name. And that's where things start to click and connect. And I am, learning more than just a framework or library or even, some syntax. I'm learning above that. And that's what I like about it. This is opening the doors for me.
Yeah. Well, to be a well-rounded, educated person, right? You need to learn something about the hard sciences. You need to learn something about biology. You need to learn something about philosophy, mathematics, right? You're going to have influences from all of these things to come up with a holistic worldview, and it is no different, right, inside of one of those verticals. So, yeah, the idea that to learn better ways of doing software, you are going to get influences from all over the place. And yes, there are intersections and lessons learned in one place that apply to another. Absolutely. Seems like a pretty decent place to take a stop. What do you think?
I don't know. We haven't converted Daryl yet. I don't know, man. Daryl, more.
Well, I'm gonna do a lunch and learn on React.
Really?
We're an Angular group here in Philadelphia.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you've already got a bunch of stuff built in Angular, then there is a lot of cost in switching over. So I mean, there's that too, right? Yeah. Converting is there's more to it than just saying, oh, I think there's appeal in this other thing.
But domain-driven design, that's definitely something that every aspect can apply. So
yeah, there's definitely things to learn and to be applied. Just like Jose's talking about with functional programming, right? You mess around with the ideas of purity, and really, I mean, if you think about it at its core, pure functions that are deterministic, right? Take input and produce output and do not have side effects. There is nothing easier to test in the world than that. Right. And so, I mean, anybody who's been doing test-driven development or at least trying to do any form of automated unit testing, right? You've been dealing with the pain of trying to deal with the side effects in your methods for a long time. And somebody says, hey, you know what? Stop doing that. Right. Doctor, it hurts when I do this. Well, stop doing that. Right. So that's, there's a lot of reason why, treating your functions as functions is good in many ways, whether you're using a functional language or not.
Yeah. the stability first.
Hey, Daryl. Daryl,
Yeah.
if you want to, I have some, instead of doing some random Google thing in React, I have some good resources that could probably shed
Yeah.
some light.
Yeah. Send me whatever you have.
Yeah, man. I know this talk that I was giving this week that could also help you out. Not really. My slides don't have, my slides are not bullet points of stuff. But
he'll sell his slides dirt cheap.
oh hell yeah! Like no. I do have some because what is it? Somebody already. This is my deal, right? Somebody already went through that pain for you. Why should you go through that pain yourself, kind of thing?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it should
so
be.
That's my whole thing. I mean, unless you want to suffer and you're a masochist, well, that's fine with me too. Let me send you some resources that can help you alleviate some of the pain. And then you can make your own determination.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Cool, man. No problem.
On Slack.
Yeah.
Right on.
By the way, if you make it big, Daryl, 10% is whatever you make is my cut. That's just in the little subheading. Just a little, whatever you make. If you make, become Daryl, the great whatever.
The famous React expert.
Right.
Yeah. that just, I'm not greedy. I could say more, but I'm okay with 10%.
I'm gonna apply it to my life, my baby and my child. Like, take all the concepts.
All right, that's it, guys. That's all I have for you today. I'll contact you, Daryl, via what, Slack or what?
Yeah, that should be fine. I think the
developer file Slack, right? You're there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're both there.
Okay, I'll hit you up there. I'll send you some stuff that I found.
Awesome, thanks.
Cool.
All right, boys. I'm signing off. Have a good one.
Go play with the kids.
I'm gonna punch them. They've been pissing me off lately. Nah, not really. They will beat me up faster than I can even touch them. So, anyways, not really. All right, guys.
All right,
See
guys.
you next week. Have a good one. Bye.
We'll see you soon.
See you guys.
All right.